This is the Sluggo, slant and go.
Casey the Beef Currigan's Wednesday, but first, before we say anything about where you are or your crazy travel stories, I wanted to wish you happy birthday. I didn't realize it was your birthday last Friday, Saturday?
Saturday, yeah.
See, I still don't realize when it was Saturday, but it got me to thinking, Case. I didn't realize you had so many friends. I saw a lot of people, or at least a lot of people that say they're your friends on Facebook. I mean, because after all, that's kind of how this show started. I thought you needed a friend. I was wrong. You have thousands of friends all over the place. It was great to see everybody hugging up virtually on Casey the Beef Cregan. So happy birthday, and you don't look a day over 62.
Thank you, bud. Thank you. Yeah, it's always that. I tell my wife every year, you have to make sure you're near a phone charger because I'm one that I can't stand the red dots on my phone. So,
Yes.
When someone puts something on Facebook, I got a red dot on there and I'm like, so I check it and do it, make sure I read who it is and click like or love or hug or whatever the hell the emojis are. And, but thanks. Yeah, it's, don't feel a day over 62.
That's kind of crazy because that's how I am. If I got an email, a text, I don't like when there's a number there of any kind, whether it's 1 or 142. No. So I can imagine the way your phone goes off. So crazy time, but happy birthday, bud.
Thank you.
Nelson says there's a fog machine in Casey's mom's basement. Well, Nelson, the fire alarm has been going off for 20 minutes. Casey just got it turned off, but the show must go on.
I don't know what it is with this camera that I have on this wonderful, really expensive work computer that I have, but it's the camera on the computer.
Your camera has a cataract. You are traveling again. We were talking a little bit before the show, man, but I couldn't do it. Even at your age, and I know you're younger than me, but it sounded great when I was like 35 or so. I went after this consulting job that I thought I had gotten, and I didn't get it, which in retrospect is probably really good. I'd be traveling like 3 out of 4 weeks a month, not a year, a month. It sounded good. I was single, no girlfriend or wife or whatever, so kid for sure. And but where are you today, Case?
I don't want to say exactly where I am, just in case a lot of fans and friends, and Houston Burnett if he's listening. But it rhymes with Shreenville. But I don't know what the heck's going on in this town because I usually stay downtown now that I don't live here anymore. And the one hotel that I always stay in for like $170 is $1,096 tonight. So I don't know if it's because I'm here. I don't know what's going on, but yeah. So I'm way out. So I'm not even close to.
You're way out. Okay, but you were saying you were in Greenwood, and now you're in Greenville.
Oh yeah. God was in Jersey last week. Flew in Monday to Hilton Head. Came to Greenwood yesterday, Greenville today, Charleston tomorrow. So yeah, it's good. It's fun times. But my wife is I was about to say girlfriend. My wife is in New Jersey. My kid is in New Jersey. So a travel week like this is just fine.
Okay, you said your girlfriend. This will be the first out of 94 episodes that I have to edit. I need to edit that right out before. Assuming
especially in the hotel room, right?
Yeah. It's like Mrs. Beef listens to this nonsense, right? Yeah, right. Edward Shumper says, any news on the baseball coach search? And Edward, I put out a request for info right before the show, and as Casey and I were jacking our jaws before we hit record, I got a response and said, no word. Nobody's heard anything. Last we left, a few names were kind of left off the last list I saw from JP Priester at allclemson.com. kind of removed a few names. The Campbell coach and some of the lesser known coaches were kind of removed. Really still out there is, let me pull up the list. I had it just for this show. The wannabes anyway. Link Jarrett at Notre Dame. They're still in the tournament. Kevin O'Sullivan of Florida. He's out, I believe. Casey and I were talking before the show. Cliff Godwin of East Carolina, who is one of my favorites. He's still in. This will be his fourth. Count them 4 super regionals. So just the name to remember. Eric Bakich of Michigan. They got eliminated last week. Matthew LaCroix of the Rochester Red Wings. Well, I don't know why that's so hard to say. Matthew LaCroix, Rochester Red Wings. And Scott Jackson at Liberty. That's the last list I've heard. Haven't heard any updates since then, Casey. I don't believe you have either.
Just from baseballamerica.com, trying to see Teddy Cahill on baseballamerica.com just had John Sheff as well added to that list. Billy McMillan, who's a developmental coach, former Clemson Tiger. He had Wofford's Todd Interdonato, Liberty Scott Jackson, VCU's Sean Stifler, and Charlotte's Robert Woodard are the candidates that apparently Graham Neff is trying to link up with. Couple of
those names we hadn't heard before, at least I hadn't anyway. So interesting times there. Hey, Hype House is getting hyped about the recruiting class. We're going to talk recruiting in a few minutes. Mr. Hype, or Mr. House. I guess Hype is his first name, House is his second name. We're going to talk about that in a couple of minutes. Let's see. Houston is paying attention. That's funny. Kevron checks in. Do you think the head basketball coach Brunell needs to be fired? Wow, that came out of nowhere. A basketball question.
Usually he just says hello to us.
The middle of June.
Now he's asking us about basketball. Kevron's getting ingrained in this mess. I'll answer that quickly. No.
And Kevron, you missed it by a week. We had Houston on last week. I think he's probably the opposite of beef. Houston, if it was up to Houston, he'd write him a check or I don't know, whatever they do for those coaches. I think he deserves it. Now that we kind of talked about this. Yeah, we kind of talked about this offline about people were saying, well, if they fired Monty Lee, why didn't they fire Brad Brownell? The expectations are totally different, right? One is expected to go to the tournament every year, maybe make a super regional and get to, quote, the Final Four of college baseball, which is the World Series. The other one, they're just happy to make the tournament and not look foolish most of the time. So the expectations are totally, totally different for those two programs. What do you think, Case?
Yeah, I agree 1,000%. You have a top 15 program. I know Graham Neff said that, but I truly believe it. Heck, I was there for the majority of 95 to 2010, and they went to the World Series 6 times in that 15-year span. So as hard as it is to win in baseball, I think that there is an expectation, and there is this lore of Clemson baseball that should be a top 20 program, top 15 program at minimum, which means super regional. Top 16 goes to the super regional. So I think at the floor, you should be getting to the super regionals at least every year, if not 2 out of 3 years. Yeah. So whereas basketball had a couple really good cups of coffee back when the Rick Barnes era, everyone knows how much I love Rick Barnes, and I loved that era of Clemson basketball. But beyond that, maybe a little bit of one run with Purnell, one run with Brownell. Other than that, it's kind of like, oh, if we get in the tournament, yes. After that, you blow a 16-point lead to Oakland or something like that. But you get into the tournament, you hope for a run, whereas in baseball, you expect to be in that final 8. Yeah,
and this man down here, hardest working man in sports journalism, I saw him the other day. I sent you a link to a show Jason was on. Jason Priester checks in. And he sounded so tired. I said, JP, man, you need a break. We're going to give you a break this week. We're not going to ask you to come on. Glad to see you in the comments. You're always welcome. But goodness, brother, take a couple hours for yourself. He was tweeting out recruiting stuff on his anniversary getaway at the lake or whatever. He said he got no sleep. So
I talked about pissing off Houston. I don't know if JP was in Clemson today, but I made a I made a quick visit down that way as well. So I was going to text them, but I didn't have much time, so I really couldn't there. Had about
JP,
20 minutes.
I'm sorry. JP says
Yeah.
Brunell is 1 year removed from attorney appearance, something that's just not happened much in basketball over
Sure.
the years. So true, JP. As I posted today on rubbingtherock.com, one of the voices of reason, I think Houston's another one in this recruiting time that we're talking about, where no one's happy unless you're getting commits every day, which turns out they're doing now. JP says not today, maybe the weekend. So
I won't be there on the weekend.
you're there every other day, but all right, Beef. We talked a little bit about baseball. How about the regionals? Did you watch much of the regionals? I know you were in Jersey. I didn't see a whole lot, but what I did see is my home team and the team you have a jersey for, the Texas State Bobcats, gave Stanford all they wanted in Stanford, Palo Alto, California. Lost. I think they got walked off at the end. I fell asleep. I'm an old dude. But even here, even in Central Time Zone, that was a late game, right? That's the one I saw. I know East Carolina moved in because we talked about the coach being a candidate at Clemson. But those are really the two I keyed in on. And it's going to be an interesting series with Notre Dame this weekend coming up in the Supers.
That was Monday night with the Texas State Stanford thing, and I had the TV going in the bedroom. Which, when my wife's around, she never has the TV on. So that was like my little treat to myself. And I was watching the Stanford Texas State game, and I was getting excited because I think it's I don't know who's on the other side, but a national seed got knocked off there. So there was a really good possibility that the Super Regional was going to be in San Marcos if Texas State had won. And I literally fell asleep, and it was 3-1 Texas State in the top of the ninth. I fell asleep. It took 2 back-to-back home runs and then two pitches to tie the game for Stanford, and then they walked it off with a couple batters later. But Notre Dame and Tennessee should be a decent series, just because Notre Dame, they're giant killers. They gave Mississippi State all they could handle last year. Who else? Virginia Tech is also still in it, so they're really, really good. Miami got bounced. They were the 6th seed overall, I believe. So yeah, I watched a good bit of it, and there was a lot of runs. Auburn scored a ton of runs. Virginia Tech scored a ton of runs. It's going to be
Oklahoma
fun,
State.
man. Oklahoma State Arkansas series was great. It's been fun. I'll be tuned in this weekend when I'm not watching hockey.
Yeah, no doubt. Notre Dame and Tennessee. I can't believe I forgot Tennessee, but that sounds like a fantastic series. And Edward Shumpert says our baseball tradition needs to be restored. Basketball, to me, is more complex. Like to get in the tournament and need to be more competitive. I think that's fair. That's not bad.
100% fair. That's a great comment. Thanks, Edward.
And Jared Clark says, you think Adam Randall will get on the field this year or wear a red shirt? Love the show. Thank you, Jared.
Thanks.
I think he gets on the field kind of like Amari Rogers did, right? Remember, he came back when he first came back. He wasn't the same player that first year, but he contributed. So I don't know if JP or Houston has a comment about that, about Adam Randall and whether he get on the field. What do you think, Case?
Yeah, why not? Why not? Let's go. All of the hands on deck. Whether they came in January or come in the summer, let's go. David Hale from from ESPN.com rated Clemson the 10th or 11th best wide receiving core in the ACC, and that's just based on he based it purely on returning 500-yard receivers and above. And Clemson had none. So he had Clemson and BC 10 and 11. I mean, that seeing that was just eye-opening, where you have an Ngata, you have the Collins twins, you have a Davis Allen, you have these receivers. We had Justin Ross last year. I know he battled a lot of injury, but all hands on deck in the wide receiver room. We got to get back to wide receiver U. And I think they have the guys. I think they got the dudes. I think they just need to get a little consistency.
Oh, wow. Houston, something he's echoed in our chat this week. He wants juice balls, give him the aluminum bats. He
I
wants to see
love it
40
too.
to 38. Of course, that's the reason the aluminum bats went away. Didn't they have a championship game that was like 24 to 18 one year? I think Arizona and somebody were battling it out. There you go.
Awesome.
Randall is back and early. Thanks, JP. Appreciate it. That's why everybody tunes into the show, not for our wisdom, for I can't do it right
Because of
because
the
JP
friends we keep.
friends of the show, as they like to say, right? Friends of the show. Okay, Case, what we're really here to talk about today, or most people probably want to tune in for, besides our giant heads and wonderful information, is recruiting has picked up for the Clemson Tigers over the last 3-4 days. Commitments: Ian Reed, offensive tackle from Vandergrift High School in Austin. Now, I'm going to tell you how good how good Klubnik and Westlake were. Vandergrift was 13-3, and Klubnik and Westlake beat them 70-7. So Ian Reed, offensive tackle out of Austin, Texas. Now, next year, if Ian Reed keeps that commitment and joins Clemson, that will be 3 players from Austin, Texas. Makuba, of course, Klubnik, and now Ian Reed. So taking 3 players out of Austin, Texas, and not any, just also ran players there. You got a 5-star quarterback, a highly rated cornerback, and of course, a highly rated offensive tackle. So good players out of Austin. We got Avion Terrell, the legacy cornerback, AJ Terrell's younger brother. Olson Pat Henry is an athletic tight end. I think he's a multiple sport guy, and probably needs to grow into the position a little bit at the D1 level, at least from what I can read. JP, Houston, anybody who knows more than me, jump in the comments and let me know I'm wrong. We're all about it. And just this afternoon, I'm not sure how you say the name, Kylan Webb, who's a 3-star athlete out of Florida also. So any observations, Case? I know we feel better than we did last week at this time about the recruiting class. We talked a little bit before the show. It's going to be a big one this year, a bigger class. And according to JP, there's still more to come.
Yeah, according to JP, according to others that I've read, there's a ton to come. But I'm excited about just the numbers that are starting to roll in. I was talking with another friend of the show who wasn't necessarily as excited because of the composites and things. I think that because of this is going to be a big class, and you just needed to start getting the ball rolling. I think there was a little bit of the sky is falling when there was only 2 or 3 commits and then 1 decommit, then you get a third one again, just to start seeing some numbers and actually some returns from the big official visit weekend, my birthday weekend, coincidentally. But these guys from Florida, Kylan Webb was going to be another of the um, Armwood High School in just east of Tampa in Riverview is nationally renowned. They put out D1 athletes over D1 athletes. Well, Riverview started growing exponentially. I don't mean to give you a geography lesson, topography lesson of East Tampa, but he's now at Sumner High School, which is they just built it. But he would have been another of this Armwood High School tree that just keeps planting and putting D1 players out. Don't know much about him yet because it just came out today, and unfortunately I had to work. I love the Olson Pat Henry, the big tight end. He plays at a little bit of a lesser. He's at a Christian school in Naples, but man, he's a man among boys. They'll probably put a little bit more meat on him. He plays in the slot right now in that league, and I think he's like an Orson Charles, who I remember. Yeah, I think so too. But I mean, he's got the body to put on a little meat H back tight end kind of thing. And it's always great to get a legacy. It's always great to get a legacy like AJ Terrell's brother, just because he said he wants to be the #1 recruiter for the class, which is fantastic, and B, he forged his own path and realized at the end that family was at Clemson. The Clemson family was really where he wanted to be. So I'm excited about the numbers starting to roll in. I'm excited about JP's tweets and Facebook things that just with his sunglasses and whatever he has. I'm excited about reading Paul Strelo on Tiger Illustrated. I'm excited about reading all these guys. Just it's starting to give us some juice again, right?
Yep. That's not the one I want. I want to pull this one up. Makuba could very well be the best safety in college football. It'll be interesting to see because that is a guy, he went to LBJ High School. That's another thing about the three Austin guys. They didn't go to the same school. They all three have gone to different schools. LBJ is the place where Ray Jackson, famously from the Fab Five from Michigan, went to high school. They've had some really good athletes out there, and Makuba is another one. Vandegrift is a pretty new high school, if I remember. It was named after someone killed in Afghanistan, unfortunately. So, and Westlake is well known. They've got Drew Brees, Nick Foles, the kicker I can never, Justin Tucker, Houston Street in baseball. They've got NBA basketball players. They've got everything at that school. So
I agree with Jared though, thinking that
he could be one of the best.
Okay. Yeah, I think he's going to be the best.
Nice. I like to hear that. Dale Hudgens said, need defensive line. JP, chime in about the defensive line. Are we seeing any coming in this class? Do we know of any that are thinking about joining the group?
The shades. There it is. It is.
Terrell's been killing the camp circuit. I did see your tweet or your I think it was a tweet to that effect, JP. That was good to hear. And there you go. So apparently we'll have some Mr. Hudgens. It looks like maybe some defensive linemen are in your future. And that's a good point, though. It's not something you think about when you have a defensive line like Clemson. It just never ends, right? These guys over and over, you need to keep replenishing them because no telling when somebody's going to the NFL, gets injured, or these days transfers to a different location. And you were talking about a friend of the show that wasn't necessarily happy with the level of recruit we're getting. There's still 2/3 or 3/4 of the class to go, right? This is not going to be necessarily the top end of your class, but you're going to need guys to fill a need, right? You're going to need, you've got a 5-star quarterback coming in. You're going to need a solid offensive line recruit. And that's kind of how I look at it. You've got your quarterback. Well, you got your next two quarterbacks theoretically, and you need to get an offensive lineman, multiple offensive linemen in there because notoriously they're hit or miss in evaluation. So you're going to need an offensive lineman. You got it. You got a 5-star quarterback, a good offensive lineman, and it's June. Chill. It'll be okay. Now I'm starting to sound like JP. See, just chill. It'll be okay. They'll start dropping soon enough. But anyway, you're not going to get all the top 100 in a week in June. Even Alabama doesn't do that. By the way, Alabama's still in the 30s in recruiting, folks. Clemson is number 12, number 2 in the ACC. I'm a JP Priester acolyte. I'm converted. It's going to be okay. What say you, Case?
Yeah, I mean, it is a long. It just feels like some of the bigger dogs want to see their commitments or want to see their visits through, want to see their official visits. I mean, I don't blame them. I mean, how many times in life are you going to be the most wanted commodity out there ever? I mean, heck, we were talking about jobs before the show too. It's like, how many times do you get a job that they came after you? I mean, it doesn't happen all that often. So let these 17, 18, 19-year-old kids enjoy their visits before. And like you said, it's June. The early signing period isn't until December. So we still have 6 months to go. Could lose some. We'll definitely gain some. And I think some of these bigger fish are out there. They're swimming, and maybe they'll jump in our pond at the end of the summer. That's a terrible cliche, but I loved it.
I think I put it at the end of one of the articles today, that something about there's bigger fish in the pond and Clemson's still fishing or something.
Yeah.
You got to be creative and not use the same thing every time. So we will see how it works out. I am obviously more upbeat than I was last week at this time, and to a certain extent, that person was right. I mean, we're not seeing the top 50 guys or whatever, but I have confidence that they'll come. It helps if I have a 5-star quarterback and a good offensive lineman already on board, and I'm confident those two guys are going to stick. The Ian Reed, I think I put this on our messenger that He had Oklahoma State set up for this weekend. He had Texas, which is probably 10 miles from his house, set up for the 24th, I believe, canceled. So really, really interesting. Obviously very impressed last weekend. And JP says, let me get it there. Think Clemson really helped themselves with Hoffler and Osborne this weekend. Yeah, JP and I were texting back and forth about Hoffler this afternoon. So I'll keep that between us, but we'll see. He feels good about him, so who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, I think there's going to be more shoes to drop this week. I really do. Just listening, reading, seeing. I think there's just, or in the near future, maybe not this week. It's already, what day is it? Wednesday.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's just positive momentum. I mean, where there was nothing previously, it felt like, and I'm not a Debbie Downer guy, but it just felt kind of stale. It was kind of like the same three guys, and then we were conjuring up Nathaniel Joseph rumors just to keep it interesting. It felt,
have something to talk about.
yeah.
Have something to talk about on Wednesday. Hey, as soon as you said more this week, I immediately looked to the comments to see if JP had the sunglasses on. I'm getting a little.
That's our go-to now.
Yeah, that's what John Chansey said up a little bit up. Jared Clark, the younger D-line commits are so fortunate to have all that experience in front of them. They will learn so much from the upperclassmen. Clemson's D will dominate for a while. Let's hope so. I'm putting my. Go ahead.
Nick Easton.
Yeah, I'm putting. And JP mentioned that this week. He said that you're starting to see that NFL experience come through on the recruiting trail with Nick Easton, and that's where my hopes are this year. And a couple of things: the defensive line and the defensive backfield, Makuba, and of course, no pick six shovel passes is something else I'm hoping for. I'm hoping we can avoid that.
He's having fun with us now.
There it is. I think he's playing us like the old fiddle. Dale Hudgens says, as Dabo says, the best is yet to come. That goes well with this class, and that's what Casey and I believe. I don't mean to speak for you, Casey, but it sounded like that's where you are. That's where I am. You're kind of filling in. Sometimes you get the big ones up front and you fill in at the end. Maybe now they're filling in, at the front, and they'll get the bigger ones at the end. I have no idea who they're after, but they already got a 5-star quarterback. I've said 8 times. Yes, sir.
Isn't it funny though that we're quote unquote complaining about high 3, low 4 stars? I mean,
right.
Remember the days that you and I were there where there really wasn't a lot of recruiting?
There were no stars when I was there.
Like, good Lord, some of the guys we were getting. It's like, yeah, well, hope they pan out. And even before this run came, there was Clemson fans were happy with 25th, 26th, 27th ranked recruiting classes. Now we're like, 12.
Yeah,
it's just it's funny. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, here's the thing. My immediate deal is, yes, I look at where the guy's ranked overall, but I go and look and see who has offered him, right? And I know not always are those offers committable. I get that, but it gives me a sense of who's interested in this guy. And when I saw, who was it? One of these recent recruits from Clemson, they were all over the country. He had literally offers from Southern Cal to Clemson. I mean, it was all and everywhere in between. Alabama, it was all through the country. So you can tell me he's ranked 250th. He's not going to end up 250th, and that's where I was coming from. Is sometimes the recruiting services miss on a guy, and when teams like Clemson, Alabama, etc., start offering him, they go back and they re-rate him. And I heard Bud Elliott say one time, we'd be dumb not to. Why would you not take into consideration the Alabama coaching staff's feeling on a defensive lineman, right, or a tight end or whatever, a running back? Of course you would. It only makes sense. So I look at the offers more. I like the top-ranked guys, obviously, but I don't fret when I see a guy ranked 225 in Alabama, LSU, Georgia, Clemson have offered him. He's good enough for me, and I think Hoffler fits into that area for me.
And I think you were talking about Olson Pat Henry. He has Alabama, Boston College, Florida State, Kentucky, Louisville, Ohio State, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, South Carolina, Rutgers, West Virginia. I mean, that's a decent, especially
Yeah.
with the
Well,
Oklahoma, Ohio State, Alabama.
I don't know if it was him or not, because one of them had Southern Cal on there, and I was like, maybe it was it him?
No.
Okay.
I don't know.
One of them had everybody from coast to coast. Not everybody, but colleges, big name colleges from coast to coast. So JP says Colin Webb is underrated. Wouldn't be surprising. It wouldn't be I mean, look at AJ Terrell. He was highly rated, I think, coming out of high school. But was he a number one draft pick, first round draft pick coming out of high school? I'm not sure.
Brady Jarrett.
Yeah. John Chansey, different services are different too. The composite has Webb as a 3-star, but 247. Yes, that is correct. And I'll have a story on him tomorrow, John. I think it says that. So appreciate you chiming in. Ian Reed. Okay. Offensive tackle, Vandergrift High School, Austin, Texas. 3-star, 4-star again, somewhere in between. We'll see when it's all said and done if these guys move up in the rankings, but they're the same guys they are now. That's the whole thing. Sometimes you have to take in different. You have to look at it a different way, and we're choosing to be positive for once. We're choosing.
There are still some big holes that need to be filled. I know when we had JP on, he was talking about running back. They still only have the one running back offer out there, so I think that board is going to have to expand a little bit, and there's definitely some position groups that need. Okay, thank you.
It's Ian Reed that's got them all over,
thank you,
all up from end to end. Thanks, Nelson. Appreciate that.
But yeah, it's we'll see what happens. I'm excited. It's just good momentum. It's good fodder. This was a good week for you and I to maybe look at not doing a show, but because of all the recruiting momentum, it was like, no, we got to come on and at least talk nonsense about it.
It is funny because I literally said, I literally said last weekend, I was like, man, what are we going to write about on Rubbing the Rock? It's June. And then everybody started, Chancey and I were tossing around ideas. Then everybody started committing, and we are all good. David Bassett. I remember the days of just hoping to land a decent bowl, but my, how the times have changed. You're not kidding.
I went to the Peach Bowl 3 times in my 5 years at Clemson.
Hey, one of the highlights of my time was not Tangerine Bowl. See, I can't remember. Stanford. They played Stanford in the game. I don't even remember what bowl it was, but it was in Florida. The Gator Bowl. It was in Jacksonville. How could I forget that? How could I forget that 5'10" girl? People getting upset about composites, but I'm elitist. Yes, Houston. The 3 of us are elitist, but that's got to.
It happens. That was very funny.
Jared Clark. I remember watching Gaines Adams here in Greenwood at Cambridge Academy. Lou Holtz turned him down and said he would never recruit from an 8-man league. Adams held the sack record for a long time. RIP Gaines. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He was awesome.
And that blocked field goal against Wake Forest will always be my Gaines highlight. Turned that game around in about 20 seconds.
Completely.
After that. Hey, Casey, I just had a brilliant idea. We've got JP in the audience, or we did. We've got Houston here. So if any of the other people have any recruiting questions, it would be a great time to ask them, because Casey and I are about tapped out of our knowledge, which took 8 minutes and 9 seconds. So if you have recruiting questions, we got JP Priester from allclemson.com, Houston Burnett from the Morgan Thomas Show. He comes on. Both of those guys come on, graciously spend their time, and obviously poking at us in the comments with the shades on their face. So if you have any questions, let us know, or let them know, because I don't know if we had anything else on our slim agenda tonight. It was all mostly recruiting, and that's what we came on talk about. As Casey said, we didn't even realize we were going to have a show until everybody started committing, and so we decided to have it on this Wednesday. Casey travels a lot, and I'm kind of busy these days, which sucks. But it'll all work out. At least I don't have to travel like the beef does. But anything else from the comments that you want us to talk about? Any questions for Houston? Burn it. It rhymes with darn it. That's how I remember. And JP Priester from allclemson.com. JP does not like Dale Hudgens, apparently.
I don't believe that. JP likes everybody.
Unless you stole his Craftsman, JP Priester likes you. Nelson, personally, I want to pay attention to the composite range. Does that make me an elitist or one of the riffraff? I think, Nelson, at times you can be both. All right, one or the other. You go back and forth, and I know I do. I'm one of. I can be a riffraff and I can be an elitist. Let's see. Just kidding. LOL. Okay, that must be that must be JP's next door neighbor. JP likes everybody that I've met, or except for Casey, of course. But anyway, all right. Yeah. If you got anything else to add, or should we wrap it up?
No, we can wrap it up. But I'm just every day I refresh my feed on my phone. Looking with my search that says Clemson baseball coach search every single day. So I'm excited as with everybody else to try to get somebody into place, because I actually walked by Doug Kingsmore today and I saw a slew of scooters and a couple cars out front. I didn't hear any pingings of the bat, but it did make me think that there's got to be some players and things hanging out there for the summer. So hopefully, the guys that have left are the only ones that are leaving. And I happened to talk to a recruit this past week that says he's weighing his options, but the only school he applied to was Clemson. So it's either the MLB, I guess, or Clemson. But yeah, so I'm excited about Clemson baseball. Obviously, good recruiting momentum here. And I know we got some questions, so we can do that.
We know Ryan Emmons was one of those people at Doug's Kingsmore Stadium, don't we? From Twitter, we know that. Twitter. Jared Clark says, "How about the linebacker we got from the transfer portal? Will he play a role this year? Are you familiar?"
Yeah, I can't think of his name, but he came from like a D2 school. I don't know if he would get any playing time. I think Houston has the answer.
No, in a word, no. Oh, is he the one from Kentucky?
Or yeah, it was Skidmore or something. It was.
Okay. Thank you, David Bassett. Yeah, David, we appreciate you. Come back. We're usually here on Wednesdays unless we're not. How's that? Most Wednesdays we are here. In a word, no. Yeah, we got Houston. All right, Casey, thank the people. Let's get out of here. We've taken up enough of their time. A lot of fun, a lot of energy this week, because we got a lot of recruits to talk about, and that's always a good thing.
Yeah, thanks so much to everyone in the Seldom Used Reserve College Football Discussion Facebook group, especially Nelson Wilhite for all his help, John Chansey for being a good all-around guy, Uncle John McGee as always, Sluggo Podcast, and each and every one of you who listens, likes, shares, and participates. On behalf of Marty Seldom Used Reserved Coleman, I am Casey the Beef Cregan. Thanks so much for listening. Make sure to check out rubbertherock.com. We'll see you right here, hopefully next week on Sluggo.
We'll figure it out.
I think we're done here.